Here you go. Here we go. We are on page 3. When we are making hypothesis, creating, constructing hypothesis testing, there's a possibility of having some errors. A type 1 error occurs if the null hypothesis is rejected when it is true. It's important. So type 1 error, we have type 1 error when our null hypothesis is true, but it's rejected. Null hypothesis is true and it is rejected. Type 2 error is when your null hypothesis is false, but you fail to reject it. So type 2 error says null hypothesis is false and you fail to reject it. We can write down a little table to help us identify type 1 and type 2 error. This is the decision. Do not reject null hypothesis. Reject null hypothesis. Let's see. If your null hypothesis is true and you don't reject your null hypothesis, it was a correct decision. You're happy about it. If null hypothesis is true and you reject it, it means that you have type 1 error. What if your null hypothesis is false? If null hypothesis is false and you do not reject your null hypothesis, we call it type 2 error. If null hypothesis is false and you reject the false hypothesis, it means that it was a correct decision and we're happy about it. Let us move on to one example. This is a very interesting example. Take a look at this. It says, we're trying to identify type 1 and type 2 errors. So we're going to analyze all of these cases for this example. Let us read it first, identify what's going on. Is it about mean? Is it about population proportion? What is it about? Then we have to form our null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis. So step by step, we're going to build what we have and what we're going to analyze. The USDA limit for salmonella contamination for chicken is 20%. So you should stop here and ask, is this mean or is this proportion? %, which is proportion. Excellent. It is proportion. Well, a meat inspector reports that the chicken produced by a company exceeds, goes over the USDA limit. What's the meaning of exceed? Greater than.
Or than?
Very well. Greater than. Nice. So at this moment, you should stop and think about your category. Which category is this? Is this type 1 category? Is it category number 2? It's category number 3? Which one is that? Let me just show you.
Number 2.
Okay, very good. Yes, greater than. Greater than is just right here. It means that the alternative hypothesis is given to you. Alternative hypothesis is given to you, and you have your second category. Exceeds, the meaning of that, greater than. Greater than, we have our table on the first page. This is your second category. So this guy says, my alternative hypothesis proportion is greater than 20%. So this is your alternative hypothesis, which says P or proportion is greater than 20%. In this question, in this example, null hypothesis is not given. What's given? Your alternative hypothesis is given. Why is that? Because we have keyword exceeds. The meaning of exceeds is greater than. When you have greater than, it means that you have your alternative hypothesis. So you can quickly form your null hypothesis, which is H sub 0, P is less than or equals to 20%.
So is this that is a greater than some?
Very good. So by using the second line, we constructed our null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis. Now let us move on. Let's see what's the question asking. When will a type 1 or type 2 error occur? When do we have type 1 error? When do we have type 2 error? We want to investigate these two. So type 1 error. Let me just put this one here. Type 1 error. To just minimize this so we have much more space. So type of error. So we know that the first one says H0 is true. The second one says H0 is false. Then we have the following cases. Do not reject, so don't reject null hypothesis. And we have the case reject the null hypothesis. Remember that. We defined this way. We said that, hey, type 1 error is when you reject your null hypothesis when it is true. So this is type 1 error. Type 2 error is when it is false and you do not reject it. This is type 2 error. Okay, let us analyze this question. This question says, hey, null hypothesis is true. What was our null hypothesis? Our null hypothesis was the proportion is less than equals to 20%. Alternative hypothesis was P or proportion is greater than 20%. Let us investigate what's going on. H naught is true. What's the meaning of that? It means that the proportion is less than or equal to 20%. So the amount of salmonella is less than or equal to 20%. P is less than equals to 20%, and you do not reject it. Is this a correct decision? Is this okay or not? P is less than equals to 20%. It means that the chicken is healthy. Healthy chicken. All right. And we didn't throw it away. Chicken is healthy. So is this a correct decision or not? What do you think? Is this okay? Is this a correct decision? It is a correct decision. Very well. Your chicken is healthy and you didn't throw it away. We're happy about it, of course. It was a healthy chicken. Healthy chicken. The amount of salmonella was less than 20%. Very well. So suppose it was less than equals to 20%, P, the amount of salmonella contamination was less than 20%, and you reject the null hypothesis. What's the meaning of that? It doesn't exceed, it's less than equals to. Less than equals to, it means that it satisfies the USDA limit. There is no problem with the chicken. Again, here there is no problem with that chicken, and you reject it. You throw away the chicken was healthy. Chicken. And you decided that the chicken is not healthy. Chicken is not healthy. So it was a wrong decision, am I right? It was a wrong decision. So it was a type 1 error. It wasn't dangerous to anyone. You just, made this assumption, made this hypothesis, and made a wrong decision. You threw away the chicken, but it's not dangerous to anyone. How about if your null hypothesis is false? What's the meaning of that? The null hypothesis is false. It means that your salmonella contamination is not less than equals to 20%. It's greater than 20%. So P is not less than equals to 20%. And what was the decision? You didn't throw away the chicken. Chicken stayed in the system. It means that they pack the chicken and they send it to the market. It means that there is a sick chicken, it's in the market, and it's dangerous. It's a no-no. Your null hypothesis is false. It means that your P, the level of contamination, is not less than equals to 20%. It means that you have a sick chicken chicken is not healthy, and you reject it. You reject your null hypothesis. It means that we threw away that sick chicken out of the system. Chicken is not in the system. Are we happy about the decision? Of course.
We're still in another camera, so
yeah, the camera. What happened with the camera?